Hello and welcome to episode 13 of our Unit4 Financials feature Spotlight series. In this episode, we're going to look at chart of accounts. Let's establish what I mean by chart of accounts. In Unit4 Financials, chart of accounts means more than what we consider the general ledger code, the nominal code. It's what we term the element string. In the example I'm showing you, you can see that there are several element strings, and I've analysed them by type. In Unit4 Financials chart of accounts, it's not the traditional, what you see in a trial balance. It's more than just the balance sheet and the P&L. It's everything down to the lowest level. If you are not happy with your chart of accounts, and you've come here to see how you can change your chart of accounts, the answer is, if you want to, for example, restructure your GL codes, yes, that's possible. But if you want to restructure your element string, then the bad news is that it's a reimplementation. The important thing to remember is that when you implement Unit4 Financials in the first place, this is the most important part of the implementation, organising the chart of accounts, i.e. the element structure. Millennium have clients who have had Unit4 Financials for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're upgrading to the latest, say for example, continuous release. And they say, we've had financials now for so many years, and our company has expanded quite substantially. Our processes have changed. We would like to change our chart of accounts to reflect the new reality. And what they've done on the upgrade is not just upgrade, but they've re-implemented. Now, I don't want to frighten you by saying re-implementation. It's not as big a job as you think. What it involves is creating a new database and doing what you would do in an implementation, coming up with a new chart of accounts, and then taking the balances and the open items across to the new database. If you want to see what's happened historically, you've still got your old database, but going forward, you've got a new chart of accounts, new processes, new documents, input templates, etc., etc. In this video, we will talk about best practice. Unfortunately, if you are not happy with your current chart of accounts, it's not a simple matter of changing your chart of accounts. If you really want to alter the element structure, etc., you cannot. For example, if you've got your GL code at 3, suddenly change it to 1, you can't do that. You have to re-implement. So, let's have a look at some examples of chart of accounts. Here is one we did recently for a US client. This is a tentative chart of accounts, and as you can see, I've broken it down into the type of charge. We've got the fixed assets, debtors, creditors, intercompany, and cash. So that's the balance sheet items. We have broken down the profit and loss into revenue, wages, and fringe, G&A, general admin, overheads, and facilities. This company had 2 GL codes. They'd got a corporate and they've got a local GL. And what they are doing is using substitution elements to fill in one or the other. Some of the companies may be using the corporate GL, and the local GL would be automatically filled in, and some of the companies are using the local GL and filling in the corporate vice versa. From a local point of view, for example, it was a French company or a UK company working for the US, they can still post using the local GL, the GL codes that they used to. But from a corporate point of view, the US company can consolidate across all the companies. The other point of note is that element 3 can be anything you want. You can see that for the trade debtors, it's a customer. For the trade creditors, it's a vendor or supplier. Intercompany, they are identifying who the other company is within the organisation. Cash, we're breaking it down into bank account. We have clients who, dependent on how much they're doing on the treasury side, the cash they have is broken down into bank accounts and into the type of transactions. For example, in element 4, whether it's purchase ledger, payments, receipts, like in a traditional old cash book, they're identifying it into the types of transactions. On the revenue, they've broken it down into product categories, and because they are a company that deals in government contracts, they've broken it down into the project and further down into work breakdown structures. This is the same for the rest of the PL. You can see that they've got wages and fringe, again, broken down to project and WBS, G&A, overheads and facilities. They are able to identify at the balance level what is against the project, and even further down into a work breakdown structure, the parts of the project, how much the spending on parts of the project. That's one kind of element structure. Here's an example of another one. It looks a bit different, but it's the same principles. Here you can see that this company, and this is a UK company, element 1 is the GL account, and element 2 is what they call the Cognos controller account. This is a subsidiary of a parent company. Cognos is where they consolidate across the group, so they must produce the accounts in this element, the Cognos controller account. Again, they're using substitution elements to do this. So, this UK company will only enter items at the element 1, and then behind the scenes, Unit4 Financials is substituting at element 2 for the Cognos controller account. And because this is a financial company, they're using the currency code at element 3. And I know what a lot of you are asking, why they want a currency code in, because the currency code is entered at the transaction level. But some of these financial companies want to maintain balances at the currency for whatever reason. And if you think about it, the element determines what balances you can keep, dependent on what rep base you are using. They decided to use currency code at element 3, and then, as like most companies, element 4 in this area is quite a lot of things. It's either a bank, employee, you can see they've got employee trades, finance leases, intercompany, counterparty, etc. The important thing as well is that they're using element 4 and element 5 for lots of different things, dependent on the type of transaction. You can see that they're using a coding structure to identify at a unique level. If it begins with BK, it's a bank. If it's an employee, EM. If it's a trade employee, it's ET, etc., etc. By using the element string in conjunction with wildcarding, they can identify exactly what that type of transaction is based on the code. Here you can see that input is VI, that output is VO, etc. When it comes to the GL code structure itself, it's important that the coding is structured. You can see here that the element code structure on this example, we've got 1 meaning non-current test assets, like the fixed assets, 2 are current assets, 3 liabilities, 4 equities, etc. It's very important when you are designing your chart of accounts, there's 2 aspects to it. One is you've got to get the element structure correct. If you don't get the element structure correct, then you won't get the information out that you desire for your organization. The other thing to remember is that it's important to use wildcards to design the codes themselves. The GL code structure should be designed in a format that gives you the information. For example, if you are inquiring or doing reports, it's a lot easier to say 1 star to get the fixed asset than say, well, I want it in the range of 1,000 to 1,099. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you are watching this video to see how to better use the GL code structure, then yes, you can do that because you're not altering the element structure. You're, for example, adding more codes, a GL code structure, or manipulating them, but you're not altering the chart of accounts itself. If you want to move things around on the element string, it'll be quite hard to do that without re-implementing. Here at Millennium Consulting, we can help you design a new chart of accounts and element structure within Unit4 Financials to reflect your current business needs. Our experts can undertake workshops to understand your organizational reporting needs and create an element structure and chart of accounts that will drive your business. Contact us for further details by visiting our website, millenniumconsulting.com. Thank you.